Hello, everybody, and welcome to Week 7 Power Rankings. Before we dive right into it, quickly say subscribe if you are new, greatly appreciated, and leave a like down below as well. We're about a month and a half into the NFL season, and this is where we're starting to find teams' identities, starting to figure out how they like to play. So let's dive right into it, beginning with the honorable mentions. Gonna knock off two teams real quick. Both the Chiefs and the Vikings are honorable mentions, in part because they both had their bye week this past week. That's how things are going to be handled on this channel. If you had a bye week, you're not going to be on the power rankings for that following weeks. Just so that way it's more up to date. It does kind of do a weekly kind of theme to it. The Colts are an honorable mention. Had a decent enough performance against the Titans. Joe Flacco did his job, but they were missing Jonathan Taylor in a ground game. The defense did a good job against the pass, but Tony Pollard was 2 yards shy of having tied the amount of yards that Will Levis threw for, so not a great day against the ground. Philly is another honorable mention, and I don't understand what Philly's doing offensively. They won this game by 4 points. If you remove the blocked field goal at the end of the half, they won it by 9. So they won it by 11, but still just not a great game offensively. Saquon Barkley was held in check. Hurts had a decent enough day. A.J. Brown was back, and he played well. But you need to play a better game if you're Philly. That was a sloppy one, and you're a better team than a 4-point win over Cleveland. The final honorable mention is the Los Angeles Chargers. Coming off of their bye week, they don't miss a beat defensively, holding Denver scoreless through 3 quarters, including getting an interception on Bo Nix on the 3rd play of the game. The offense did a solid job. Justin Herbert had 237 yards through the air, and J.K. Dobbins nearly had 100 yards on the ground. Denver tried to make it close, but in the end, the Chargers were able to come up big late when they needed to, and they'll come in as an honorable mention. All right, to kick off the top 10, we have the Buffalo Bills. That was a really sloppy win against the Jets on Monday Night Football. 10 penalties for the Bills, 11 penalties for the Jets. It's just not a great game. The offense, they started off the game doing really well on the ground, but eventually it kind of went away from it, and I don't fully understand. And then late in the game, they went back to it and it started working again. I don't get it, but they get the win nonetheless. Tyler Rapp had a fantastic game. Made a lot of big plays in this one to help get the win, including a pass breakup in the end zone for it that would have been a touchdown to Garrett Wilson, a touchdown and now game-saving tackle against Breece Hall along the sideline at the 3-yard line. He played a phenomenal job. That defense did enough. The offense did enough. Just a very sloppy game. Wanted to see more from Buffalo. That ground game has a lot of potential to be a really good ground game. Their tight end room is a great tight end room. Just I don't know. They finally break the skid that they've been on, but still not fully playing a complete style of football. So they come in at number 10. Number 9 is the Chicago Bears. And I don't know if this is the case statistically, but at least visually, this was the best performance by a Bears quarterback I have seen since Jay Cutler was under center. Caleb Williams had himself one hell of a day against Jacksonville. 4 touchdown passes on the day, 2 to Cole Kmet, 2 to Keenan Allen. A good job on the ground by him with 56 yards. DeAndre Swift had himself 91 yards on the ground and a touchdown. Just the offense was playing really well against a Jacksonville defense that is a bottom tier defense in this league. They looked apart. Caleb Williams is given a sign of hope for the future in Chicago. The defense played well as well, although not anything really statistically standing out. The more so is just a case of they did not break once in that game until late. Evan Ingram had himself a pretty solid day, but for the most part, none of the other receivers on Jacksonville could do much. In part because there were a lot of drops, but there were also some off-target throws, and really drops and off-target throws can be credited to the defense if obviously given the right situation. The Bears were able to get some pressure. The Bears secondary was able to force some balls loose and kind of just create that added pressure to the receiver that they needed to do. It was a dominant win across the pond for the Bears. I really like what I'm seeing from them. So yeah, they come in at number 9. Number 8 is the Pittsburgh Steelers. That was a nice win over the Raiders, but it was mainly spotlighted by the ground game and the defense, like most Steelers games this season. And this really quick mention the passing game, because Justin Fields, he's doing a good job. The Steelers are 4-2. He's not turning the ball over that much. He had 145 yards passing on this day. Definitely wish there was a bit more there. I'm pretty sure there was a touchdown that was called back. But still, 145 through the air in an NFL game. Not the greatest, but he did have 58 yards on the ground and 2 rushing touchdowns, so it kind of makes up for that. He still produced well. Najee Harris had over 100 yards rushing and a touchdown on the day. Again, the ground game was not the issue for Pittsburgh. Neither was the defense. They picked off AOC once, forced 2 fumbles, and got a very nice Steeler football styled win. I like what I saw, but do want to see that pass game kind of begin to show true signs of consistent improvement. But yeah, so again, they still got a nice win. They come in at number 8. Number 7 is the Washington Commanders, and that was a very tough loss that they had to the Baltimore Ravens. But again, the Ravens are one of the better teams in the league over the past 4 weeks. So again, it was still they still kept it close. That's the big thing. They picked off Lamar early in this one off of a tipped pass by Mark Andrews, and it kind of felt like that maybe this was the style we're going to be seeing today. Nope, the defense did not play as well as I thought they were going to. They could not stop the ground much at all. But throughout the pass game, they couldn't really tackle, and there was a lot of breakaway plays from Baltimore. Jaden Daniels had himself a relatively nice day, 2 passing touchdowns, nearly 270 passing yards. I thought he played well in the pass game. It was just the Washington run game that I was confused about. If they were going to win this, they needed to control time of possession. They needed to utilize Jaden Daniels' legs, and they just did not run the ball against Baltimore. I know Brian Robinson was out. He missed that game, but you still need to find ways to run the ball. You can't be a one-dimensional team, especially against a team like Baltimore. But even with all that being said, they played a very tight one against a really good team, so they're going to come in at number 7. Number 6 is the Green Bay Packers. That was a beautiful showing at home against the Cardinals. Jordan Love had himself a great day, 250 yards through the air and 4 touchdowns. 2 of them went to Romeo Doubs, and it was good to see him back on the field. And it's obvious that his teammates love to have him back as well. So again, good to have him back. Josh Jacobs had 68 yards on the ground, and the offense was looking like the Packers' offense. They're a really good offense with a lot of young talent. They showed it against the Cardinals. They're going to be a tough team to beat now that Jordan Love is back and playing high-quality football. And then the defense played well also. Forced 3 fumbles against the Cardinals. It was a good bend-don't-break style. The only times the Cardinals really were able to move the ball down the field was in those middle-8 minutes of the second and third quarter. And they only gave up 13 points to a Cardinals offense that can really be electric if needed to be. I know Marvin Harrison Jr. went down with concussion in this one, but I still liked what I saw from the Packers defense, and especially the Packers offense. They come in at number 6. Number 5 is the Atlanta Falcons. They built off of a really impressive win against the Buccaneers the previous week with a divisional win on the road against the Carolina Panthers. And this ground game was phenomenal. I know a good portion of it was in those final 5 minutes when they were focusing on just running the ball and killing the clock. But still, Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson combined for 200 yards on the ground. Paired that with Kirk Cousins' 225 yards through the air and a touchdown pass to Drake London. And this Falcons offense has found they have their chemistry built. They found their groove. They're going to be a tough offense to stop going forward. We saw that against Tampa. We saw it again this week. They're going to be a fun team. And the defense played well also. Picked off Andy Dalton a few times. AJ Terrell had one of those interceptions. It was good to see him. It was good to see him get a pick in this one. And they still gave up 20 to Carolina. So I feel like they could have played a little bit better defensively. But if you're going to put up 38 points a game offensively, giving up 20 is nothing for the defense. So I like what I saw. They come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. A 50 spot put up against the New Orleans Saints in a fantastic bounce back game after the tough loss to the Falcons the week prior. I know Baker threw 3 interceptions, but he still hooked 225 yards through the air, 4 touchdowns to go alongside it. He played really well, spread the ball out fantastically. 8 different players had a target in this one. And he was even blocking pretty well and getting involved in all facets of this game, wanting to bounce back truthfully. Bucky Irvin and Sean Tucker both have 14 carries. They combined for over 200 yards on the ground, and they had a touchdown each. Fantastic day on the ground. Like, that is a beautiful performance from that ground game. And then the defense played well also against Spencer Rattler. Antoine Winfield makes his return. He has to scoop and score a touchdown, which put Tampa up by 14 early in this one. They picked off Rattler twice. They held New Orleans to under 100 yards on the ground. And New Orleans' big electrifying receiver only had one reception on 7 targets. And I know Rashid Shaheed also had the punt return touchdown. But the big thing was he only had one reception on 7 targets. So yeah, Tampa Bay, fantastic bounce back week. They come in at number 4. Number 3 is the Baltimore Ravens. That was a great win over the Washington Commanders this past week. Showed off some resilience. They threw an interception early in this one, but Lamar bounced back. He had 323 yards through the air, a nice touchdown pass to Mark Andrews on top of it, and that was his first touchdown of the season. It took 6 weeks, but Mark Andrews is finally getting involved a little bit in the pass game. Derrick Henry had himself another fantastic day, 24 carries, 132 yards on the ground. 2 of those carries went for 6. Just again, a great day from this Baltimore team. And the defense played really well also. And they held Washington's run game to 52 yards. And the pass game had its issues, but for the most part, they stepped up when they needed to, made a lot of crucial stops. Definitely felt like this was one of the better performances from Baltimore's defense this season. They are now on a 4-game win streak and have completely turned their season around, tied for first place in the division. They come in at number 3. Number 2 is the Houston Texans, and that's more like it. That is how you dominate over an easier opponent. It took a few weeks, but Houston finally had a great game, had full control of this one. We're up 17-0 early on in this one, and after that point, every single strike the Patriots tried to throw at them, they matched it. A great job there. They picked off Drake May twice, especially the one early on set the tone for it. 4 total turnovers forced by Houston's defense was a great job. Joe Mixon was back for this one finally, had 100 yards on the ground and a touchdown. It does go to show how important Joe Mixon is to a valuable ground game due to time missed in Houston and with how Cincy's ground game is looking since his departure. That's besides the point. Again, you get the ground game going for the first time in a few weeks. It set up the pass game pretty solidly. Stroud, not quite at 200 yards, but did have 3 touchdowns, including one to Stephon Diggs. And this Texans team, they're back. They finally had one of those elite games that they needed, it felt. And they have the Packers next week. Should be a good one, but they come in at number 2. And number 1. Who else but the Detroit Lions? That was a beautiful game that the Lions played. A revenge game for how the game in Dallas went last season for Detroit. And from the get-go, the defense was playing really well. The offense scored on the opening drive, got up to a 7-3 lead early, and did not look back. An interception on the second drive for Dallas pretty much ended the game as Detroit never looked back. Got a field goal off that ensuing drive. And then from there, David Montgomery played fantastically. Jahmyr Gibbs had a great game. Montgomery got paid the day before and came out on that first drive bulldozing people and getting in the end zone. It's overall a great game. Brian Branch, 2 interceptions and a forced fumble in this one. Again, he played really well. Kerryon Arnold's the one who picked up that fumble. So the Bama boys getting involved, making plays for each other on defense. Again, pure dominance. Tripled the amount of rushing yards, nearly doubled the amount of total yards. Like, there's not enough for me to say to explain how fantastic this Lions game was. They played a phenomenal game, even to the point where they were desperately trying to get an O-lineman a touchdown late in that one. Hendon Hooker came in and had a decent enough showing for a backup in a garbage time situation. And the best way to sum up how perfect of a game this was is Jake Bates going perfect, kicking on the day. So yeah, no better way to cap off Week 7 power rankings than the Lions at number 1. All right, there you have it. Let's do a quick little rundown. The Bills are at 10, the Bears at 9, Steelers at 8, Commanders at 7, Packers at 6, Vikings at 5, Buccaneers at 4, Ravens at 3, Texans are 2, and the Detroit Lions come in at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Subscribe. You know the whole spiel. See you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one. Peace.